Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to yet another special edition of Take 3 because we are four of us here on the table, viewers. And it's now going to be perhaps a more regular occurrence that we will get experts from the outside, along with, of course, minds from within, to try and talk about issues. And we are coming to the end of 2025. We're looking ahead to 2026. This has been a year of reforms, year of resilience, year of resurgence at multiple ways. And the key focal factor, Narendra Modi. I'd just like to set the pretext as I say Namaste, Jai Hind and Vande Mataram to everybody. Rahul Shiv Shankar, who's now wearing a very different hat from over the last 2 years. So congratulations on that once again. So editorial director at CNN News 18, Nalin Mehta, managing editor Money Control, and Gautam Chikarmane, who's currently saying I'm very nervous, but he's looking the best rested and most well turned out of all of us. But the whole story is, at a time when the NDA was looking the weakest, they seem to have pushed through some and also in a year that's been challenging. Operation Sindoor tested resolve. On the other hand, Trump's tariffs have also tested resilience. Now, how would you see this entire year and how would you look ahead to it? Let's start with the guest, Rahul, and then come back, circle back to us. So, Nalin, set the context and then Gautam.
So, I would argue that post-Sindoor, we had something analogous loosely to a 1991 kind of moment. And that was the challenge the Prime Minister faced. 1991 was a big economic crisis. We didn't have an economic crisis this time. But the challenge was that, there was a real need to reform in the face of various kinds of external pressures, right? So you saw the Prime Minister responding with the clarion call for Swadeshi on the Independence Day speech. You saw the GST reforms. Before that, you saw income tax reforms. And you are seeing a slew of reform now across two categories, largely broadly in the ease of doing business space, both through legislative action and through policy actions. And you're seeing a lot of movements on manufacturing. Now, I think one of the reasons why I do have to say, Sindoor, the diplomatic challenges after Sindoor, it forced India to give us an impetus for reform in a way that the economic crisis of 1991 gave us an impetus for reform. So you're seeing things of a certain kind. So for example, in the GST reforms were supposed to lead to a much larger consumption, putting more money in people's pockets. We've seen the green shoots of that in the Diwali season. Next year, we'll have to see how sustainable that is. The second is on insurance, you've seen big reforms, 100% FDI, life insurance, players being allowed to get into different sectors and so on and so forth. You've seen financial sector reforms, which have led to a lot of new investments coming in. And there's a slew of investments that have come in. I think there is a lot of FDI, big ticket investment that are happening, even though financial portfolio investors, foreign portfolio investors are sort of moving out of the stock markets, but the resilience of the domestic investor has really held up the markets in a way that they would have collapsed if, with the current kind of trend of FPIs moving out of the stock markets, the domestic investor is what has been the saving grace. But in the last quarter of this year, you've seen big ticket FDI investments coming in, especially from Japanese companies. That shows you something is changing. The labor sector reforms, those are always difficult to do. We have seen intent on those. You are seeing a lot of reforms in defense. We are now seeing, I think, the beginning of a military-industrial complex in this country, of the kind that we saw with Eisenhower after the Second World War, with a lot of private sector coming in into defense manufacturing in a way that has never happened before. And that can have a huge knock-on effect on the economy. And finally, I would argue that on manufacturing, there were PLI schemes always in about 14, 15 sectors. There were marquee successes in electronics, for example, in mobile phones, to some extent in solar panels, and in other sectors that didn't really work. But you are now seeing a serious attempt to expand that. In semiconductors, you start seeing the PLI scheme, you'll start seeing the first Indian semiconductor next year. So I think there is a broad attempt by the government to move move gears on economic reforms, to do a lot of measures for ease of doing business, and to kickstart manufacturing and factories in a serious way. Now, how that effective that will be, we'll see as we go along.
Right. Now, he's set up the context, or has he taken away all that you wanted to say?
He's literally, read my thoughts.
Left you speechless.
and has left me without any ideas. But I think among all of them, this has been the year of, and we should be very grateful to President Donald J. Trump for, he has created what in 1991 was a macroeconomic crisis. He has created a geopolitical crisis. And I think India has measured up very fast. I didn't expect, actually, last year I had given up hope.
Okay.
That reforms were not happening, things were moving too slowly, and a lot of PR, but very little hard work or change or restructuring. And suddenly, from 20th January, the pace of reforms has been just spectacular. Right from the budget, which we were here, I was here on 1st of February, all through, and the biggest reform of all is the labor reforms, in my opinion. And I think labor reforms is the biggest reform after 1991. And that's because it impacts 63 million enterprises. Just for context, that's around, I think, 5 times more than what GST approaches. So this is the kind of reform that can push jobs, that can push investments, that can push entrepreneurs, that will definitely help formalize our enterprises. New businesses, it remains to be seen whether capital will come or not. My sense is it will. And the simplification, the level of detailing in this labor reforms, for instance, harmonization. Do you know what is a worker? According to Factories Act, the person who is on a shop floor is called a worker. According to Trade Unions Act, it's a workman. According to minimum wages, it is employee. Do you know what is the difference between a wage, a remuneration, a bonus, complete, all those, and across different acts? So an entrepreneur, I'm not talking about large, I'm talking about small to medium entrepreneur, had to negotiate all these levels of detailing of compliances in order to get his compliances right. And it had created a huge rent-seeking infrastructure. I think that's going to be breaking down. This is apart from the Jan Vishwas Part 2, which was tabled but has now gone to a select committee. We had made presentations there as well. I think Jan Vishwas 1 and Jan Vishwas 2, which is decriminalization of imprisonment clauses, is a starter. I mean, if you just look at business, the union government, there are 26,000 imprisonment clauses in total in India, of which the union government controls 5,200. So if you are removing 200 or 300 or 500, it's statistically insignificant. Labor reforms have cleared up about half of that.
Wow. Okay.
Those imprisonment clauses. And the Jan Vishwas Part 3, which is right now underway, which is going to be the story of 2026, is going to remove a lot more. So I think India should be grateful to Trump for pushing us to a corner. India should be grateful to Modi because he has been, in my study of the various prime ministers, the most reformist of all prime ministers after Narasimha Rao. Narasimha Rao opened the floodgates. But after that, there has been, one step forward, 2 steps backward, and kind of thing. Modi has accelerated them right from 2014 onwards to a new level, and I think labor reforms
I can't resist saying, to add to what he's saying, that in India they always say that you do reform by stealth. People want to do reform, but they want to hide it. And that was the story with the Congress for many years. This year we have seen reforms not by stealth. And that's been, and in fact, last few years, like he was saying, that a lot of people had lost hope till a year back. See, when Modi came to power, a lot of people thought he'd be a new Thatcher, a new Reagan. That didn't happen. Modi was a statist. He built a new welfare state. He also did other things. But now
tie in what these two gentlemen are saying by coming up with a pun, which I think I did send to you before the conversation. I said, has Modi really trumped adversity? Okay. Now, if he's done so, the question that I want to pose really is, has reform translated into sort of lived prosperity? Okay, that's the end net goal of a reform. Has it translated into lived prosperity? So I agree with Nalin and I agree with, of course, Gautam, that look, the structural reforms momentum has sustained. You have a situation where willy-nilly there was a lot of pressure on Mr. Modi to perhaps take the populist route, especially after the 2024 election result. But I think he's done a great job of resisting going the populist way. Yes, there have been a couple of schemes that have raised eyebrows, especially targeted at women. He got into a bit of a competition, but I think that was the need of the hour, perhaps. There is 2 or 3 other things that one could sort of chomp down on. But fundamentally, the positives are that manufacturing has deepened. So while it was, this PLI scheme, etc., was sort of restricted to 2 of 8 sectors, Now you're seeing a broadening of that architecture, which is good. A lot of course, capex has been committed by the government, which has been very good for the economy in the sense that it made up for I would say, a slightly lukewarm approach by private industry. What, however, has happened, which I feel we need to talk about, the elephant in the room, is the creation of jobs which are, quality employment as such. I feel that that's the one lag, and therefore I bring back the conversation to whether there's been a marked difference to lived prosperity. I think here there is a drift, and you're seeing it also in electoral results that are coming through. Slowly you're seeing a little bit of consternation, or let's not say consternation, but let's just say a little bit of anxiety on part of a certain youth in this country. And I think that, whether he won or he lost, whether it is Vijay in Tamil Nadu or whether it was our man in Bihar, Mr. Janswaraj, the youth did sort of get enamored. Maybe they will be enamored by Vijay and they will sort of look. But over the last 8-10 years, we have had a youth which is sort of looking at alternatives. When we crunch the numbers, we see the new voter sort of splitting. And that's the future base of the BJP. Are they going to be happy in the long run? I don't know. I think the second thing that I want to focus on is this MSE, the MSMEs. I feel that they're still very policy dependent. The fact that they constantly have to look at My Baap Sarkar to see what policies are being announced is not an architecture that has been created to make them self-sustainable. Now, you've had a GST that came in which gave them a little bit of relief, which gave us a bit of relief, but is that enough? I think those are the questions that I would like to sort of pitch this conversation towards, because in 2026, to decide where we are going to be in the next 5 years.
In terms of considering, and let's look at it politically also, the BJP considering that politically the youth are going to matter is seen in the shift that a Nitin Nabeen, a 45-year-old, becomes the national working president. A 25-year-old in Maitri Thakur gets an MLA ticket. A Harsh gets elevated to deputy chief minister at such a young age. So there is this entire consciousness that the youth need to be engaged, and that politically, policy-wise, exactly, we will see. But coming back to, and GST gave relief to the person in terms of lived experience, the number of cars that are being brought, the number of people who are traveling, the number of people flying by air, the number of people buying air-conditioned tickets.
Lived prosperity.
Yeah, so that lived prosperity is also being experienced by people around us. Now, Janta is something...
But the urban poor, the unemployment rates there are high.
Yeah.
I mean, any data you...
The issues is...
Add to what Rahul is saying, I think Rahul is... There are structural problems which any government has to face. We can't turn away from the fact that there is an issue in unemployment.
Correct.
The very reason why this 10,000 rupees in Bihar was so electorally potent, or why 5,000 in Maharashtra or in Haryana was so potent, is precisely because that money means a great deal to people on the ground, right? So we can't turn away from that. The issue is that once you get into that mode, then the state finance. Also, after creating a larger social welfare net over the last 10 years, expectations are higher. The cost of the exchequer is going up. The revenues have to go up, which means more jobs have to be. But eventually, more jobs have to be created. You need to create more jobs. At a time when white-collar jobs are under threat.
Don't forget, there are disruptions. There is the AI revolution that's going to kick in, whether it will or not, and how we're going to live with it, I don't know. But many people are envisaging a point where prospects will have a 22-year-old son who's going to be 23, he's going to be entering the job market, and he's got a legal degree, and one would have thought that, he would have been immediately absorbed. He's a A-class student, he's a first-class holder, but it's been a tough grind, and this is a common experience of his cohorts.
Yeah, but see, this is also a situation that most nations will face when technology evolves to a level where there are thousands of jobs available in one place and there are thousands of qualified people in another place, but both don't marry each other. So I don't know if the right term is disguised unemployment or how you would want to look at it, Gautam Chikarmani. But in Bharat, I think that's a problem that we are going to face and we'll have to tide over, because our current system is producing people who are not employable in the
rural sector.
in the industries of the future.
True. That's true. You talk to any entrepreneur, he's looking for people. He's willing to pay a premium.
Yeah.
They're looking for talent. You talk to any young person. I don't think your son will find it difficult to get a job though. But anyway, you find a person and they're looking for jobs. Maybe it's a wage issue. Maybe it's a kind of a job issue. I don't know. But I think, firstly, from what I've been hearing, a lot of this has to be borne by the state governments.
Yeah.
The union government has done all it could. I think all the reforms are mostly in place, give or take a few.
Yeah.
And now the execution of those reforms, for instance, if you take labor reforms, the rules have to be made and so on down the line across the states. That's where the action is going to be. Second, I think there is a lot of skilling issue happening.
Yeah.
And the skills ministry and the entire ecosystem has somehow, either there is a dissonance or not being able to deliver what is required.
Would you agree?
I mean, come on.
I wouldn't agree.
Skilling is the Achilles heel,
No,
because
I don't
they
agree.
don't seem to have done the level of skilling that was intended by the Prime Minister.
I don't agree at all.
In the first, in the first 2.5
I think
terms.
everybody is on it, and I think at some point, I mean, this is going to be, this is not going to sound good, but I think that prayas has to come.
No, but Gautam,
घर बैठे आपको खाना
fundamentally,
पीना
look at the
नौकरी
amount of money.
ये सब नहीं मिलेगा. You need to go out. We
No,
ran out.
I mean, look at
We
R&D, for
struggle.
example.
Everybody struggles.
We don't spend as much as China does on R&D or America does on R&D. I mean, look at the percentage of R&D spent, for example,
How is
as
that?
GDP.
How is that even important?
No, it's very important, because if
look,
you are going
we are
to...
a $4 trillion economy. What was China spending on R&D when they were a $4 trillion economy? What was the US spending on R&D when they were a 4? What was Europe? What were they doing? I think we are doing okay. Secondly, you mentioned semiconductors. I think Google, Microsoft, and the third company,
Amazon is also invested.
Amazon.
Amazon is also invested.
Altogether, around $45 billion of investment is coming. So they're going to need people. What those people will create as a second generation AI infrastructure is a secondary issue. But that AI, there's a lot of hype talking about AI taking away jobs. But there is an equally important fact that AI will deliver opportunities. And in fact, a lot of jobs that are being taken away are what is technically called bullshit jobs. They are using AI. I'm not making this up. They are termed bullshit. There is surplus capacity and people overhire and so on. And they are now using AI to get rid of the surplus capacity in the system. So it's not that AI is coming and taking up a hardworking guy's job. It's just that there were too many guys or they were not working.
No, but here is one more. I just want to raise this point, that the current government is trying to create ease of business, but you are not encouraging a person coming out of university to turn entrepreneur. You want them to create jobs. The Prime Minister keeps saying, don't start looking for a job, start creating jobs. But is the system today encouraging a 23-year-old, 24-year-old to dream of starting the moment they come out of college, and to create an ecosystem that enables them to employ 5 other people in any business model which is possible? Is it so easy?
Can I just say that, look, there is a global issue around AI, right? Which all economies are thinking, but other economies are not dealing with the kind of scale of unemployment and of the scale of numbers that we are dealing with, right? We have a large structural imbalance of 60-70% people still being in the rural areas and still in agriculture, which is highly unproductive. Other countries did that shift earlier. So the nature of the problem for the government is very different from other economies and on this scale. Now the issue is that while there are a lot of reforms are happening, and I think this is a challenge for any government, whether it's the Modi government or any government that comes in. You are at what, 8% growth now? In the last couple of quarters have been very good. When China was making that transition, the kind of investments that were coming into China, the supply chain that moved to China. Now you could argue that this is an older economic model, things have moved on and so on. The thing is, we need things of that scale to move the needle. Otherwise, you're always going to be a disaffected middle over there, which is going to raise questions.
there
right?
is also
which is why
I would
the
also
investments in the zones which are happening in Andhra, Tamil Nadu. See, what you need is investments that can lead to large scale job creation.
That's
Job
right.
creation. So,
That's
like
the real
shipping,
key,
manufacturing, ports, etc., and also agriculture, rather than looking at it as a non-productive sector, can be turned around into perhaps the most productive sector, because many people who are gazing into the future believe food security is going to be the challenge of the next decade. And if Bharat can become the food bowl for the world, we are anyway well placed and secure. Now, agriculture is something that which we can bring in technology that can create jobs. Agri-related products, you can create jobs. Rural empowerment will happen there. Establishment of entities around land parcels. There is a huge opportunity to create jobs and bring the turn the person back.
Let me talk about agriculture and jobs or work. A decade ago, I was at Uttarakhand. I was studying the agriculture, how the fruits have moved further north because of climate change and what people are doing, etc. So this is just an anecdote. I don't know if you can extrapolate it or make it a macro data. The children of farmers over there did not want to do farming.
It's a tough job. It's a tough grind.
Okay, so there is an unwillingness to work, and now since then there is free food coming. There is a basic income there. There is NREGA and its new avatar, G-Ramji, that has come. So the incentive to work hard remains among the few who want to. There is a base level of security provided to every Indian today.
So are we creating a lazy Bharat then?
Paid work
I
days.
wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But then there will always be a mass that goes, and then there will be a small percentage who will jump out. A lot of young people they are not looking for jobs. They don't want a job. They are sitting and doing YouTube videos. They are doing Insta stuff. So I think
That's easy money, no?
The texture of work is also changing. It may be easy money today. It may not be tomorrow. And this easy money may lead them to doing things on AI, etc. So I don't know, this whole thing about job and 5 years ago we were talking about K-shaped recovery and jobless growth, etc. When I look around, I don't see it. And I don't know, maybe I'm in the wrong city, but I travel a lot and I see everywhere, people are quite okay. And maybe finally it comes down to a wage issue. Maybe wages have to rise to be able to attract the kind of talent. Can businesses create those kind of wages? We don't know. But it is not necessary that every unemployed person is out there because of lack of policies or lack of opportunities.
I would chafe at the use of the word okay, to be very honest, because again, that is a very subjective interpretation of what is okay for certain people, right? It might be okay for us to see that certain people get 3 square meals a day and they're getting by, but maybe it's not for them. Because aspirations, you see, today you're talking about a market that is pretty much logged in, and they're clocking in visuals that they see internationally. They also see from their big cities here in India, and they see this massive dissonance between the quality of their life and the quality of our lives. And that's my worry. I'm not trying to suggest here that people will come running through the streets with pitchforks, because I don't believe in that. But fundamentally, I think that today the person that you're addressing, the youth that you're addressing, is ambitious because aspiration is in his palm.
So what
Can
do you
he-
but
I
asked a marketer the other day.
Yes.
So what do you
a
want in
major corporate leader
2026?
who's in FMCG in the FMCG
Yes.
sector, that how do you target sort of tier 2, tier 3 India versus rural India versus big town India? He said, look, there is no such thing. Today, because of the mobile phone, the aspiration of the guy in the village is the same as your child or somebody richer than you.
You're seeing
Or
the
are the same as
telescoping
an American
of
child.
aspiration.
So because they have access to the same information and the same things.
The
So
tragedy
earlier
is-
it used to be that you want to go 1 rung higher. Now you're going 30 rungs higher.
That's right. The tragedy is that while our children, privileged enough to be born in our homes, can acquire certain things, a large number of others, for them, it's beyond the realm of their means right now. And
Look,
that
anybody
gap-
who has an aspiration of the kind that you are talking has access to all information, studies on his phone. And phone, I think, is has democratized to a great level.
Yeah.
So I think what can the government? We began with
Yeah.
what can the government do? In my opinion,
let's
the
look ahead
government,
to 26 now. What
government
do you
has done
expect?
everything that can be done. Now prayas has to come, bhai. If you have an ambition, work for it. It's
Yeah.
not that overnight you're going to become some billionaire.
You know,
You will
this-
have to
this part
work
in
your way up.
2026
See, I would have accepted this point. But the government itself is insecure about how much it is doing for the people. Therefore, you have these stilts. You have the crutches. You have all the welfareism that you are sort of militating against, that you are saying that is a problem for me, it's making people lazy. Why is the government then giving? If the ramps have already been created and it's only a matter of prayas, and I don't believe Indians are lazy and they don't have the ability to push themselves. I mean, you spend time with a Zomato driver or a normal policeman on a beat and you'll find out the amount of work that is put in. Now, you can call it leg work, you can call it donkey work, whatever, but the commitment to working doesn't lag.
End of the day, there is an inherent aspect that unless we as a people, I'm not even talking about a room full of individuals or a village or an area, as a collective, as a nation, we don't have that enshrined in us like the Japanese did. That they have to put in the hard yards. Now that society went
that is like absolving the government of all
just
responsibility.
hear me. I'm not absolving the
that's
government of any
completely-
responsibility.
No, but why should the government be given this responsibility? They have done all that it
So
could.
the
Sir,
government-
are we saying,
see, either the
saying
government
that
has to
there
be
is
bold enough to
equality
shun
today of opportunity between somebody who's living in rural India and in a class
there
A
is a
colony
far
in
there is
a
there is a far
tier 1 city? No, there isn't.
there is a
Let's
far
face
great
it, boss.
there is a far greater democratization of access to
access
information.
to healthcare, access to good education, quality education, access to means. There is a
Frankly-
vast gulf.
frankly,
If you want
frankly, the
quality
argument
education,
is
then
that-
what are these
No.
billions of rupees
actual-
that we are spending on these government schools who
Sir,
are not delivering?
sir,
what are they
sir,
doing?
No, that's a question that you have to
So
ask,
then
and that's
maybe
the
that-
question.
maybe that's the way.
So that's the question we have to pose. We can't assume.
I think, Rahul, may I say something?
Yeah.
I think, look,
What
I
is the
think we are
guarantee that
getting
those who are
stuck between
privileged are
two
actually open to
different ways
working
of
hard?
thinking.
No, it's true.
I think the danger we have is we are in danger of thinking that we've solved the basic issues in our society.
That's right, we
We think the
haven't.
way that the West has solved
Yes.
in terms of a basic level of living, basic level of income and wages, for example, our per capita income.
The West-
we have not solved those issues
where-
so far.
where has the West-
And that is a problem which is why you have the donut.
Where,
which is why you have
where has the West got a robust model? The moment they
I am not.
the moment
there
they
is
start,
no model which is perfect.
They
There is
don't
no
have a
robust model.
They have
No,
they have
no, no,
equal
no.
number of homeless.
Anand,
They have equal
no,
number of
Anand,
people who are jobless. They have
Anand,
equal
then
number of people who
why are millions of Indians queuing up to immigrate every year and no Westerners
Yeah.
willing
No,
to
no,
migrate
it's-
India?
One
Come on, yeah.
Postmaster
I mean,
General's
let's not
job
pretend, no.
today, when you advertise
Every
from the
Punjabi here,
Sarkar, one
why are
Postmaster General's
why
job,
are so many
that
Indians
is
from
a-
one
Kerala,
lower
Punjab,
division
other states willing
clerk's
to
job
immigrate here?
has
No,
thousands of people
no,
applying.
that's
They're
the reason.
like flies to
that's
the
the reason.
honeypot.
That is because we are a nation which have 4% of the world's landmass and 22% of the world's population.
no,
Or
come on.
20% of the
I
world's
think-
population.
I think we should not
I
make
think
the mistake
running
of thinking
around
we are a
Yes.
great society, great power and a great economy when we are not yet.
Yes.
No,
we
we're
are on
not.
the path towards.
On that note, we've got to pause. I think we will do another edition, and I think into the new year we will reconvene again on Wednesday, and then Wednesday next or Thursday next, and take this part, the four of us. So I'm going to already secure your time, gents, because this is unfinished business. So you got to
might
take
be
it
on a boat
forward.
in the Caribbean. Playing a guitar. Come on.